Imagine walking through a frozen forest in the middle of nowhere. Not a road, not a trail, just endless snow, frozen trees, and silence so deep it feels heavy. No wind, no birds, no sound at all. Every step you take crunches loudly, and you suddenly realize something unsettling. You are the only noise in that forest. Then you stop. Because in the snow, right in front of you, there's a paw print. At first, your brain refuses to process it. It looks wrong. Not long, not sharp. Wide, wider than your head. And in that moment, instinct kicks in. Because whatever made that print isn't nearby, it's already watching you. This isn't a legend. This isn't a campfire story. This is real. And today I'm going to show you the evidence that proves the largest tiger ever recorded in the wild. But to understand why this animal shocked scientists around the world, you first need to understand why almost everything you've been told about tiger size is incomplete. Most people think they know how big a tiger gets. They picture the animals they've seen in zoos, or the ones filmed in documentaries under warm skies. Long bodies, sharp stripes. Impressive, but familiar. But the wild doesn't care about cages. And deep inside the frozen forests of eastern Russia, there exists a version of the tiger that doesn't fit into textbooks, charts, or official databases. For decades, scientists believed there was a hard biological limit to how big a cat could become, a point where bones would fail, muscles would slow it down, and survival would become impossible. That limit was considered unquestionable, until the forest proved them wrong. The first warning sign came from a camera trap placed deep in the Amur region. At first glance, the image looked normal, a tiger walking through snow, nothing unusual. But when researchers began analyzing the photo more closely, something felt off. They compared the tiger's shoulder height to the trees behind it, then to the frozen riverbank, then to known terrain features captured in the same frame. The proportions didn't line up. The tiger was too tall, too wide, too dense, and that single image exposed a mistake scientists had been making for over 50 years, a mistake now known as the size trap. For decades, researchers measured tigers the same way. They focused on length, nose to tail, because in warm climates, length matters. A longer body means speed, flexibility, reach. But Siberia doesn't reward speed. It rewards survival. And survival in temperatures that drop below 40 degrees requires something very different: mass. Here's what scientists missed. Siberian tigers don't just grow larger. When winter arrives, their bodies transform. Their fur thickens dramatically, sometimes reaching nearly 4 inches. Their muscle density increases. Their bones grow heavier. Their frames become shorter, wider, and more compact. They don't just grow longer. They become armored, built not for speed, but for impact. Which is why many official tiger records are misleading. Most of those measurements were taken in summer, when these animals are at their smallest. For a long time, reports from the early 1900s were dismissed. Hunters were accused of exaggerating. Old measurement tools were blamed. The numbers were labeled myths. After all, how could a cat possibly reach those sizes? Until one tiger made those excuses impossible to ignore. And that moment came in 1943. A group of soldiers was crossing the mountains. They weren't hunting animals, they weren't conducting research, they were simply trying to survive the terrain. That's when they saw it. Not a tiger, a wall of orange and black muscle, standing motionless in the snow. It didn't run, it didn't flinch, it didn't even acknowledge their weapons as a threat. When they finally measured it, the numbers were so extreme they believed the scale was broken. But what they discovered next was even more disturbing. This tiger wasn't hunting deer anymore, it couldn't. To maintain that size, deer simply weren't enough. It needed more fat, more muscle, more calories per kill. So it hunted something else, something much bigger. Full-grown brown bears. A predator that looks at a grizzly and sees food. Researchers later referred to this behavior as the Grizzly Hunter Strategy, and it's the only known way a tiger can cross the 900-pound threshold. But size like that comes with consequences. When you become that large, stealth changes. You can't disappear into tall grass. You don't stalk prey the same way. You move differently. Slow, silent, heavy. like a presence the forest itself reacts to, and that leads us to what modern researchers discovered decades later. And decades later, that presence was finally captured again. Not by soldiers, not by hunters, but by a silent camera hidden deep inside the forest. In a remote section of the Amur region, researchers placed camera traps far from any road or village. This area was considered too harsh, too cold, too dangerous. Weeks passed, then months. Nothing unusual. Until one night a single frame appeared. At first, the researchers thought it was a malfunction. The tiger in the image didn't fit the frame correctly. Its body seemed too tall, too wide, almost distorted, so they assumed the camera was broken. Until they started analyzing the image carefully. They compared the tiger's shoulder height to nearby trees, then to the frozen riverbed visible behind it, then to known landmarks measured during previous surveys. They ran the analysis again and again. Each time the numbers pointed to the same conclusion. This male tiger was estimated at over 930 pounds, not in captivity, not overweight, in the wild. That number alone changes everything, because at that size this tiger isn't just large, it's operating at the extreme edge of what a mammal predator can physically support. And yet, it was healthy, moving efficiently, hunting successfully, dominating its territory. Which raised a terrifying question. If one existed, could there be more? As researchers expanded their surveys, they began to notice a pattern. Large paw prints, unusual kill sites, bear remains found in places no bear should have been hunted. These weren't random events, they were signs that something was changing. For decades, conservationists believed big cats were shrinking, losing territory, losing size, losing dominance. But in this specific region, the opposite was happening. Smaller tigers were disappearing. They couldn't move through deep snow efficiently. They couldn't bring down large prey. They couldn't survive long enough to reproduce. Only the largest males endured. Only the heaviest frames persisted. This wasn't mutation. It was natural selection. In this frozen ecosystem, nature was rewarding size again, pushing the species back toward the massive proportions of its Ice Age ancestors. The tigers that survived weren't faster. They were heavier, stronger, more resilient. We aren't watching an anomaly. We are watching a king reclaim its throne. One researcher who documented this region had spent his entire life among predators, wolves, bears, big cats. Nothing scared him, until one encounter. While checking camera traps alone, he realized the forest had gone silent. No wind, no birds. He felt it before he saw it. The tiger stood across from him in the snow. Not crouched, not aggressive, just watching. For nearly 20 minutes. It didn't growl, didn't bare its teeth, it simply observed him, as if measuring something. He later said it didn't feel like being hunted. It felt like being evaluated, like a human examining an insect. So after that day, he removed his cameras and never returned to that valley. That tiger wasn't a monster. It was evolution refined to its most brutal efficiency. A predator built not for speed, but for dominance. But there is a dangerous truth about encounters like this. There is one mistake humans make again and again when they come face to face with a tiger. A mistake that turns a calm moment into a fatal one in seconds. That mistake is holding eye contact. In the wild, eye contact is not curiosity. It's a challenge. And with an animal like this, challenges are answered instantly. Because when a creature like this looks at you, it isn't deciding if it can kill you, it's deciding if you're worth the effort.